Welcome to Real Talk, the unedited, scripted, unfiltered show where I sit down with a gaming personality and talk about anything and everything. Today's guest has been casting since the early days of online gaming, beginning back with Battlefield 1942. Since then, he's become one of the most recognizable voices in esports and provides incredible play-by-play commentary, keeping you on the edge of your seat. These days, you can find him at the ESL studios, primarily casting League of Legends. Joe, welcome to Real Talk, man.
Thanks, JP. It's nice to be here, actually. Really excited. It's been a while since we've talked. Actually, I think MLG Anaheim was the last time. And I also brought a little bit of a special thing along today.
You did.
#1 backdrop ever on Real Talk.
You did. It is, and hold on, show it off now. You got to show it off. Let me full screen
I brought something even cooler. This little remote control. Check those colors out in the background. Wait, now it's not working anymore.
It changed. It changed. We got.
Oh, it did change.
Got the red up. There you go. Look at that.
Yeah.
Fancy.
So that's my present to you. Changing lights. When there's a bad question, JP, I'll switch to red.
They're going to be mood lights? Is that what they're going to be? We got mood lights here for Joe Miller. All right, well, let's go ahead and just start things off here, Joe. Before we jump into your personal story, I got to know, why don't you have a handle? I was going to call you Joe Miller, but I've heard you hate that. So what should I have called you as your handle?
Well, Joe Miller, I don't have a nickname anymore. It got weeded away years and years and years ago. I think 2005 was the last time anyone that wasn't trolling me called me by my old nickname, which was Dusty.
Where did Dusty come from? I think you told me this once, actually.
Yeah, so my dad was in the Navy, and because of our second name, Miller, apparently everyone who's called Miller automatically gets the nickname Dusty. And then we bought together Battlefield 1942 back in the day. He used the name Dusty. Then I was playing on his account, and then I got into a team. So I just kept it.
Gotcha.
Nothing special.
Nothing
it's like a really
special.
boring story.
Can I call you Dusty from now on?
You can call me whatever you want, JP.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the personal story here, as we always do with Real Talk. Where were you born, Joe, and where did you grow up?
A not-so-small town, I guess I can call it, called Rotherham in the north of England, just outside Sheffield. Yeah, I was born and raised in a little village just outside of Rotherham, actually. A pretty working-class background. You know, my area is a very coal mining and steel-orientated area, or at least it was until the Lady Thatcher destroyed it all back in the day. But yeah, that's where I grew up, went to school there, and only really left when I went to esports full-time, actually.
What did your parents do for work while you were kind of growing up, and do they do the same today?
Like I said, my dad was in the Navy, and then after the Falklands War, actually left to join the police. Then after the miners' strike, got his shoulder broken and became an electrician. Got bored of being an electrician and then became a driving instructor, and that's where he's at still to this day. My mum's a midwife, a community midwife. She drives around to people's houses of pregnant women and makes sure that they're, I don't know, not too fat.
Interesting. Was that kind of a normal childhood for you? I mean, with your parents, with those jobs?
Yeah, that's a really standard set of jobs around us. I mean, everyone's parents work in a bank, are bricklayers, are carpenters, work in shops. You know, it's not so often that you'll find someone who lived in the area that I did whose parents were, you know, investment bankers or doctors even. Yeah, it was, like I said, pretty middle working class.
Now, do you have any brothers or sisters?
I actually have one little sister. She's not so little anymore. I'm scared to say how old she is because I don't 100% remember if she's 21 or 22 by now. Wait a minute.
Think about it.
21.
There you go.
2012. Yeah, 21. So I have a little sister. She actually just graduated recently. She did something that I failed to do at some point. And I also have an older half-sister, actually, who's just given birth to her third child, a little girl. and I'm now an uncle for the 3rd time. It's pretty strange being called Uncle Joe, honestly.
Congrats on that, Joe. Congrats.
It's kind of scary.
Now, you mentioned school there a little bit, and it didn't seem like it was going that well for you. What was school like for you, I guess, kind of growing up before you even get to high school or college?
So the thing is, I was actually really good at school, or, on paper, I was quite, what do they call it, academically talented, I think is the right description that they use these days. But unfortunately, I just couldn't be asked most of the time, and yeah, I started to not really fall behind. I remember times I actually played the piano, and my music teacher, I hope she's not watching and no one really can relate that to her, but she was a bitch and she hated me. I think mostly because I was more talented than the other kids and had to do like no work to still get the top grades. So the last time I did music with her, she gave me like the lowest mark for effort and the highest mark for achievement because, well, I was just better than everyone else, but I didn't do anything. But aside from that, I actually wanted to be a geography teacher at one point. I'm really glad that I didn't end up going down that path. But I was really good at school. I just, like I said, didn't put the effort in with the exams. When it came to my A-levels, the step before university in the UK, I actually, again, didn't really give a shit what I was doing. Came out with a B in geography at A-level, which is a really good grade, actually. But, yeah, from that, I didn't go through with anything else in terms of education.
Why geography?
What
was it about geography that
honestly,
that interested you?
I can't tell you I loved this, or I loved volcanoes, or earthquakes, or something.
Right.
It just interests me, and for some reason I was talented already in there. Like from an early age, I could tell you every single flag you ever put in front of me on a really basic geography level. And then at the end, like I said, I came out with a B at A level, having studied for, I think, 2 hours when most kids were locked in their bedrooms for about 6 weeks before their exams, which pissed a lot of my friends off in my geography class, actually, who I'm no longer friends with.
What was kind of your social role? Were you kind of the nerd? Were you the kid that was always going out and having fun? What was that like?
So I was like in the middle. I think I'm still that guy, actually, who... I'm totally a nerd, obviously, to people who don't know anything about gaming and esports. People take the mickey out of me sometimes. In my social circle away from esports, my football guys, and that's not soccer, that's really football, just to say it. They make jokes about professional video game commentator, blah blah blah. Obviously, they find it cool. I think there's a bit of jealousy in there always when they're taking the mick. But I'm somewhere in between, and I always was, even more to the later stages at school when, your beer got involved. I was always the nerdy-ish guy who spent most of his time playing video games, but when it came to the party, I was there. And for the whole night. Sometimes overstaying my welcome.
So nothing's changed, is what you're trying to say.
Nothing has changed.
What does taking the mick mean? We don't have that term over here, and I would assume that the majority of the viewers on YouTube as well as here on Twitch don't understand that term. Is that just give you a hard time?
Taking the piss, taking the mick.
So they just give you a hard time.
Giving you a hard time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that because a lot of people don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Germany now, right? So the Germans are like, don't understand what you just said. I have to clear things up on a daily basis here.
Gotcha. Were you a part of any sports or any other clubs, chess club, anything like that? Really nerdy stuff?
Actually, I was, again, like the opposite. Contrary to what you see now, I mean, I was never a skinny guy ever. But I played football, soccer. It's really called football. From, I think, 9 years old, I played for a club team, and I played for my school right up until I was 17. I think I really stopped playing. I used to train twice a week and play twice a week, Saturday and Sunday. Like, my old weekend was football. I'd play in the morning, then go and watch my football team play later on, Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of football. I played a bit of rugby, which for you Americans out there is your football, but without the padding.
Yeah, rugby's actually awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal sport. I actually used to enjoy it more playing at class at school because in rugby you've got a rule that's called, handing off. So you're allowed to basically shove a guy or hold your hand up to keep him away from you when he's running at you. And obviously these little kids who were a lot smaller than me when I was 14, 15, they used to run up to me, and I used to wear gloves because we were allowed to for some reason. I had some mountain biking gloves that had like thick rubber. They were dangerous, to be honest. And they used to get a fist in the face, and my teacher always like, yeah, that's part of the rules, that's fine. All
Nice.
fine.
Nice. So what happened with college? It seemed like you were having a good time with football, and your grades were going well. But why not college, or I guess university, as you guys call it?
Yeah. I mean, it was in the period where I really started to get into esports. Like, I finished my A-levels in, oh God, I guess June of 2005. Got the results in August. And then from there, you've already had a few months to apply to your universities for different courses. And so I actually got a few offers with that, one of which I'll come to at the end because it probably would have helped me right now. But I applied for marine biology. I know that seems totally random considering the story so far, but I used to work at an aquarium when I was 14 up until 17, 18. Long hours, 10.5 hours every single day when I was on school holidays, or just 10.5 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday. So I was really interested in fish, and I knew everything about fish. Tropical fish, actually. Not saltwater, not marine fish, but freshwater fish. I can tell you pretty much any Latin name that you would like to know of, any common name that you can pull out of the hat of a tropical fish. So yeah, I was like, yeah, damn it, marine biology, that's going to be cool, without really thinking about the options. And what else did I apply for? I got rejected for a couple because I was only doing 3 A-levels, and the marine biology course were like, these science universities where you need top grades in 4 if you even want to have a chance of getting in. And I also applied for sports broadcasting, which now, like I said, now I come to think of it, would have been a perfect thing for me to maybe go down that road. In the end, I got invited to my first big event, which was the CPL World Tour UK stop. And then, just as I was about to say yes to go to university, they offered me a place on this 3 weekends in 3 continents tour, which was Singapore, the next weekend in Milan, the next weekend in Santiago in Chile. And I took that and, well, never looked back, actually.
Now, I want to go back before we kind of jump into gaming and esports. The aquarium job, what was your role at the aquarium? Were you the guy that fed the fish? What was that?
Actually, I did feed the fish sometimes when I was bored, but actually I did a lot more sales stuff, even when I was really 14 years old. When I think about that now, like if a 14-year-old kid came up to me in a shop and tried to tell me what's good and not, I'd be like, 14-year-old kid, what can he know by now?
Right.
But I was actually really good at it, which, I stayed there for a long time. I earned, at the end, when I quit, about 10 times as much a day than I did when I started. And I started selling these big fish tanks. The biggest fish tank I ever sold was £18,500, a saltwater marine fish tank, 7.5 feet long. Yeah, big thing with filtration system and all. You could hook it up to your laptop basically and tell you what you need to do, when you need to do it. Most of it was already automated. So yeah, I was doing a lot of sales stuff there. And
that was commission, I bet, right?
Actually not, which annoyed me. We used to get bonus. Obviously, I got a decent bonus when I managed to flog close to £20,000 worth of fish tank. Right. But bonuses weren't really there. It was commission wasn't really there. It was just bonus here and there.
Was that the only job you kind of worked as a kid? Did you do anything else growing up?
I had the standard paper round as well when I was 12, 13 years old. I got, I think, £6.80 a week. And it took me about 2 days to stuff all these And if you've ever done this in England, like we have this like free circulation press, which no one pays for. It's delivered to every house in the neighborhood. And I had 250 houses on my round. And what they did, they delivered a pack of newspapers and a pack of advertisement shit. This kind of shit that you never look at, you just pick it up and throw it straight in the bin, that stuff. So I had to pack each advertisement into each paper individually.
Busy work.
And then I had to go and deliver it.
Oh.
Yeah, that was hard work.
Sounds it. Well, let's go to a brighter, a happier place, Joe, and talk about video games. How did you get involved with video games? What was kind of like the first game / system you started playing, and how old were you?
My first real memory of playing games was playing Duck Hunt with the gun.
Nice.
At my uncle's place. I have no idea how old I was then. But that was really one of the first memories that I have on it. My dad, luckily enough, bought a PC at the very, very early stages. It had about as much memory that's probably in this remote control right now, and cost about 3,000 times the price of it. So I started with PCs really, really early on. Yeah, and then it was, I guess, kind of standard for people my age, like Super Nintendo, then into PlayStation, and from there, I got into PC gaming.
Did you have a favorite at the time, kind of before you started getting into competitive gaming?
One thing I really loved for my Super Nintendo, I don't know if you remember it all, there was this like bazooka.
Yeah.
Scope thing. The games were actually really terrible. In fact, I only think they ever released 1, maybe 2 games that even could use it. But that was awesome to have like this bazooka on your shoulder. That was a good memory. I enjoyed that when I was a kid.
I never had one. I always saw them, so I never really knew what that experience was like. But I was always insanely jealous when I saw them in the in like Nintendo Power or whatever. Obviously, so
yeah, they were awesome.
Did you play any of the RPGs where you kind of you said you mentioned PS2 and PS1? Were you a big Final Fantasy VII guy, or did you kind of stray away from RPGs?
So I have to, I suppose, be careful here what I say.
Why is that?
Because, back in the day when everyone had a PlayStation, there came a time where you could get your PlayStation chipped, as we used to call it.
Oh, okay.
Then play not so off-the-shelf games. So yeah, for Christmas, I had this PlayStation for about 6 months, I think. And then for Christmas, someone close to me decided, yeah, let's get him that for Christmas. Let's get him chipped game, blah, 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 chipped his PlayStation and get him some games. So I was like, yeah, I'm all for that. And then none of the games worked, and apparently the chip wasn't properly installed, and I guess I was like 10, 11 years old, maybe a bit older than that. But I remember how pissed off I was that I couldn't play Final Fantasy VII because it came in, 4 discs, I think? 3 discs, 4 discs? And also Fighting Force. I remember I got that as well in the same kind of package, which was like co-op, beat people up on the streets kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never really got around to playing Final Fantasy VII after that. I think I was scarred for life.
Oh, man, you had a poor childhood then, I got to say, in terms of video games. When did you start getting competitive at them? When did you kind of jump into that whole scene?
So I think 2003 was the real point. I started playing Battlefield 1942, like I said, which still rates up there as, I think I can go ahead and say, my favorite game to ever play online ever. It just had so much, the different roles, the infantry. And I know we've got so many people in chat right now who are probably going to totally agree with me with that one. I know Demon's in there and a lot of the multiplayer guys who used to play with us actually a lot. So yeah, I started playing that. I got into a team called CLF. They were, I forgot what it meant now. Combined Liberation Forces or something, completely ridiculous. And then started playing from there. And then that team kind of went to shit. And then I joined 1RB, 1st Ranger Battalion. And then we were like really quite good. Still not up to the level of some people. And then I got involved with going to LAN events, actually. That's where I first met Demon. My first ever LAN event, I sat next to Odie, the owner of Dignitas, when I was 16 years old. I had a shaved head, didn't really look 16, and I managed to convince them at that LAN to buy me beer the entire time, which they probably get locked up for now, actually.
Well, he's in the chat, so hopefully we just didn't get him in trouble. But yeah, he said he drank a pint next to him. So, Battlefield 1942. Were you part of the group that kind of did the crazy? I guess you didn't call them trick jumping. They were more just like tricks back then, right? Where you'd fly on like the wing of a plane and all those frag videos that were kind of from that golden era of Battlefield.
So actually, MP UK that you were asking about in the channel earlier did the real famous ones.
Yeah.
Later on, I played for one of the best, like the highlight of my Battlefield career was playing for a team called Northern Brigade. They were a Swedish-based team. Actually, a few of the developers used to play on N Brigade as well, and they did a video called Hero, which was like really machinima, early days kind of thing. Brilliant soundtrack, nice, great storyline to it. I think it even won some awards at some point as well. So yeah, we did that kind of thing. I was in a team towards the end, just more for fun, called the Harlequins, which was I think we called it the sister team of MP UK. And we did some breakdance movie as well, which was to Run DMC. It's actually quite embarrassing when I think about it.
Oh,
like
man.
The guy who owned that team, he actually owned one RB before it, and he never told us his real name, never showed up at any events. He actually owned a special effects company that did all special effects for massive Hollywood blockbusters. So.
Wow.
I'm sure that guy's still around, probably not involved with video games anymore, but making the monies.
Now, before we kind of jump into how you got started broadcasting and whatnot, I do want to mention some other things that kind of happened in your life. When you first moved to Germany for ESL, which kind of get to the story behind that, but what was that experience like? Was it the first time that you'd really ever been to some place that you were kind of out of your element, or have you been traveling around Europe enough that you kind of fit right in right away?
I wouldn't say I fit in right away. There's one story that I don't think I've ever really told about ESL, and that is that I came here in 2000 and, come on, Red Eye, help me out, 7, I think. 2007 seems about right. I came here, I had been offered a job to work for Giga 2, as ESL TV was back then. And I came here actually with my dad. We flew over together, had a bit of a look around Cologne, went into the job interview, and they just didn't offer me enough money, actually. That was the unfortunate reality of it. There was just not enough money on the table back then to move in. So I went back home, talked a bit more to Paul, and the whole idea of Quad V was already floating around there. So that's how I ended up getting in with the brilliant guys at Quad V. I mean, you look at the names that were in Quad V right at the start, and I'd say superstars of the casting scene there. But yeah, moving to Germany, I'd learnt German for 5 years at school. When I moved here, I realized that my teacher was shit, and she never taught me anything. Really, just the most basic German rules. 5 years. I mean, the biggest highlight of my German exams was me saying my hamster's been dead for 3 years, which, you know, doesn't even, that kind of sentence you don't use too often.
Probably about
German.
once.
So yeah, I came here, I might buy a hamster just so my teacher can be proud that I will at some point use that sentence. But yeah, I just came here, really didn't know the language. The guys here at ESL all speak perfect English, obviously. And from there, just started to slowly but surely listen a lot to German people talking. Never really studied the language, but now I wouldn't say fluent, but pretty bang on the mark.
Is it a case of you can kind of understand what everyone's saying, you just can't reciprocate it or say it properly right afterwards?
One thing that really helped me with that 5 years in school was the vocabulary. So I learned a lot of words that would just be here, there, and everywhere mixed into the middle of a sentence. And then from that, I could sometimes guess what was going on. Sometimes I got it painfully wrong and paid the consequences. But yeah, that's how it started, just generally figuring things out, how they should sound, what this word means, what that word means. And from there, slowly starting to speak, which I tell you is really, really quite painful. My ex-girlfriend here in Cologne, hopefully she's not watching either because I'm about to slam her into the ground. So she's studies linguistics, multinational communication, or some other fancy term for learning languages. And she was like a really bad teacher for me because when number one, she wanted to speak English. She was studying it. Perfect boyfriend, speaks English. But for me, it was hard because she had this whole teacher mentality. When I started to speak half a sentence German, she'd correct me 3 times. And then after 5 minutes of trying to get out, you know, what do you want for dinner, spaghetti or ravioli? I couldn't be bothered anymore, and I just stopped it. But luckily, I found another more awesome girlfriend, and I'm finally speaking only German for the last 1.5 years.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, well, let's jump into just broadcasting and kind of how you got started in that. So what was the first thing you ever really cast? Not so much professional cast. I think CPL is probably what you would say there, but just kind of for fun. What was that game, and how long ago was that?
So I actually dug up the pages. I don't know if a lot of the American guys will remember Clanbase, but for us in Europe, it was like the biggest thing back in the day. So I was an admin at Clanbase, and I used to run the Open Cup. They had like 2 tiers, the Open Cup where anyone could really enter, and then the Euro Cup, which was more prestigious. It was only invite teams, really the best 12 or 24 teams or however many were in that in the end. Demon was actually the admin for the Euro Cup, and at some point he was already casting for a little while and said to me, well, why don't you give it a go? Why don't you jump on with me for this Open Cup Grand Final? Still can't remember. Yeah, I see everyone in chats there saying Clanbase still owe me money, which is, yeah, what happened to Clanbase? Don't need to go down that road to explain. But yeah, that was the first thing. And I asked Demon to look in his older hard drives that he has there, because I'm pretty sure there's some real gems hidden away from 2003, end of 2003, where we first started casting together, maybe 2004 actually, where we first started casting together on just on Winamp. You know, there was no video streaming back then. No one had the internet for it. We struggled to have enough internet to do radio streams in the UK, which actually has not really changed that much, if we're honest. So it was a different style of casting to what everyone knows now. I mean, the best, in my opinion, the best play-by-play casters that are around in esports right now, I might be missing a few examples with that one, but the bulk majority started earlier on, and that's because they came from radio. We were doing radio broadcasting. No one could see what we were looking at. We were explaining that this tank is in this position, this plane's coming from here, and you had to make that picture for everyone at home to see. Now it's different. Everyone can see it on their screens thanks to the wonders that are Twitch and Owned and other video streaming services. But that was where we really got our start, and where I don't want to put people down, but there are a lot of casters out there who do this for a hobby, granted, but just aren't onto that, aren't up to the same level technically. They get away with it now because they've got a video stream there, and people say, this caster's shit, mute it. You know?
Sure.
Back in the day, if someone muted you, that was it. They'd turn the stream off. There was nothing. There was no video stream to watch, and those that weren't good enough, they're not around anymore.
Sure. Do you remember anything from that first cast that you were kind of like, oh shit, I can't believe I just did that, or oh fuck, like how did I mess that up? That's so simple looking back. Was there any moments like that in your first cast that you can recall?
That I can recall? Not really. That's why I want to hear them again, because one thing that I do know is that my accent has really mellowed out over the last years. When I first started, my region in England is known, the Yorkshire accent is known as being a very hard to understand, I would say. We miss a lot of letters out of words just because we're lazy, and it's that way. So that's one thing that's really changed, and even looking back to CPL, I can hear a totally different Joe Miller voice than what I have now. And when I go home, my friends are like, you sound strange. You don't sound like one of us anymore. So that's the biggest thing. If I made any mistakes, I'm sure I did in my first years. I still make mistakes now, so there's no way I got through a radio broadcast back in 2004 without making any.
So what was the transition period like from kind of the radio broadcast days of BF42 to I guess CPL? Is it that big of a jump for you, or was there other stuff kind of in the interim there?
I moved on to Painkiller when Battlefield was really dying down, and I saw this opportunity since I worked for TSN to maybe do some events, at least be more famous. As back in the day, it's like, cool, I want to be famous. That sounds really awesome. So I started casting Painkiller, and I went the hard way about it. I did. I forget what the name of the cup was, but it was a weekend cup, so Saturday. I'd start casting at 1 p.m. and finish at 1 a.m., all audio, and Painkiller was a fast game, and you had to do a lot of talking in those 12 hours. So I really worked hard with Painkiller, and when the CPL World Tour was announced, they actually wanted me to go right from the very beginning. They said, okay, Turkey, first stop, we need your passport number, your date of birth, blah, blah, blah. That all gets sent off, and video came back and said, he's only 17. At which point, the guys who owned TSN were pretty pissed because they had a quite strict age rule in that you were only allowed to be 18. I'd already been in the company for a year, I think, up till that point. But yeah, I had to wait till I was 18, which is where was that first CPL UK stop came in. But that was a jump, from radio sat in my bedroom. The only people annoying me was my little sister loading the internet downstairs when I needed it to push my my audio stream out. To this big bridge. Intel had a sky bridge built there. We had a tank from James Bond, big stage and everything. It was a massive deal for me, a really huge jump.
Would you say that, was that Hunter at TSN? Was that who?
Right.
Would you say that he's kind of responsible for, I guess, your quote-unquote big break as a caster?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I think he also did the smart thing in that situation. He knew that I lived about 5 minutes drive away and was like, we need another caster that knows Painkiller. Joe, he fits the bill perfectly. We wanted him earlier. Now is his chance. Let's stick him in the middle of it and see what he can do. So yeah, Hunter definitely gave me that break. Before that, Demon was my big break, really getting into it at the start. But it was Hunter, the guy that used to own TSN, who really said, Joe, step up, or that's it. That would have been it. I mean, if I'd have messed up in that first event, probably would have been looking at fish somewhere.
What was
a marine biologist?
What was that jump like from audio to video? Like, in terms of what you had to adapt to immediately, that you were kind of like, oh crap, like I'm on camera right now. What were some of the biggest, I guess, hurdles for you to jump over when you made that switch starting out?
The whole thing that the viewers could see what was going on. That was our whole style had to change from audio into video, because, like I said, they have the picture in front of them. It's useless to spend a full 20-minute game just going, just following the guy around and saying he's here, he's pick this up, pick that up. There's still place for that, and that's why we have play-by-play commentators to this day. But you need that more analytical color commentator there with you at the side. That's something that we struggled with in the early years. I'd say it took us, esports as a whole, quite a long time. Even in other games, in Counter-Strike and what have you, it took a long time until people made that switch, because at that time the guys that were doing the video events were the guys that had already put the years in on audio streams. So it took a while to adjust to it, but in the end, I'd say it's easier to do to cast on a video stream than it is on an audio stream. I mean, on an audio stream you could literally talk rubbish. You could say this is happening when it isn't, and no one would say, look at this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just making it up. You could say that and they wouldn't know the difference. Now if you said it, they'd look at their screen and say, typing on Reddit, this guy sucks.
MTV was responsible for the production for that kind of series of event, were they not?
No, only
Only the big final?
What was it called? The World Tour Grand Final or whatever. Yeah, in New York. So that was like 2 events all on its own. That was in December, I think. My first event was September. So from 2 months of having my first big break, we went to New York to do the grand finals. The first part of the event up till the final was done in an internet cafe that belonged to Torble. Come on, JP, help me out. What was it called?
Craig Lev. Oh, I thought you were talking about Torble's name. Oh shit. I'll look it up. You keep telling the story.
Man. Can't remember anymore. But he had this awesome internet cafe in right in the middle of New York. So yeah, that's where we did it. And then the day before the finals, everyone said we're all going to MTV in Times Square, up this elevator with security passes on to their big boardroom to discuss this whole production tomorrow. And I was already pretty scared just going there, to be honest. And then we all sat down. We were 3 guys, myself, Warwich, who I'm sure a lot of people out there know. He's actually making a comeback, which is quite fantastic. And Style, Brett Lutz, who did the Painkiller World Tour really from the start. And MTV sat us down, gave us a script, and we're just like, okay, so we want to use Warwich and Joe. And Brett was like, I just did this all year long. We get to MTV, and now this English guy's kicking me out. I didn't really talk to him much after that. I mean, we did WSVG together and stuff, but
right.
I think the relationship wasn't quite the same after that. But yeah, MTV, again, was this other ridiculous step that I wasn't expecting so fast. I was expecting to go in there and say, Warwich and Style, you're the 2 guys that we want. And you know, good job, Joe, doing the rest of it. You know, you're building your experience as we go. No, Joe, you're on MTV tomorrow, live in the Nokia Theatre in Times Square. Hope you're ready. That was how it was. There's your script. And yeah, I was shitting myself from that very second until it finished.
So for those of you that are unaware, that was probably to this day top 5 probably biggest moment, the biggest stages I guess esport has ever really been on. To be on MTV, obviously a huge network here in the U.S. and it was really a first. I mean, that was the first time that it's ever, I think, had been on TV. I think that Painkiller beat MLG with Halo to TV. I want to say it was before that, but what was that like? I mean, you said that from September to December was kind of when you learned, then you were just thrust onto MTV. Were you shitting your pants before the camera went on, or what was that experience like?
If you watch the video, I was shitting my pants when the camera was on me. I sat there and they did this pan around, which caught us, and I was sat there like... honestly, I've never had a moment. I've done events that I feel up to now should make me more nervous, standing on stage at CeBIT, commentating a game that I've never even heard of, which I have done now multiple times.
Sure.
You know, in front of the developers who've paid to have their game there and what have you. And those are the kind of things that I now take in my stride. This MTV thing was just a new world to me. I had no experience really being in front of the camera. You know, these 4 events, I guess we can say, up until that with the camera on me. Yeah, and the production was obviously all different. These were TV guys, not just the guys who run TSN and their ways. I mean, back in the day, we never had doing the pre-events, not the grand final itself, but the pre-events. No one was in our ear saying 3, 2, 1. We used to have a guy with his fingers up, 3, 2, okay, go. You know, that kind of thing. And then we got to MTV, and obviously, yeah, they're kind of used to producing events and producing TV shows. So we had Sally Frattini, who actually is the mastermind behind the MTV Music Awards, and Matt Mills, who works for a company now, his own company called Spaceman Productions or something like that. They do a lot of big name stuff. So they were working on this, and luckily for me, I guess, I didn't really know who they were, because if I did, it would probably be even worse. But the whole time we had the production chatter in the ear, and it was just a really crazy thing for me. And yeah, I was, up until it finished, very, very scared. It got better, obviously, after like 5 minutes, but the start was disgusting. I never felt so much pressure.
What was their outlook like, the MTV production crew and the people you worked with, in terms of dealing with esports? Were they were they all really energetic about the project? Were they kind of like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, why am I broadcasting a video game? What, do you have any idea how they really felt about it?
They, as far as I could tell, were pretty pumped about doing something new. Matt Mills, who was in charge more of the content side of it, was, put everything into that. He actually did some more stuff after that with World Series of Video Games on CBS. He was the guy in charge of that.
Oh, okay.
I tweeted at him, I guess 2-3 years ago now, and I said, when are you going to do more esports stuff on TV? And he's like, when I get money for it, that kind of thing. So I'm not 100% sure how serious they really took that whole thing, how much it really, if you ask them now, what did you think about it? I don't think they'd be that impressed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Would you say that entire event was a success in your eyes, looking back?
CPL World Tour is one of the most weird events ever. Obviously, the money. You had Intel in there, and I'm guessing, I don't really know the 100% the politics around it back then, but I wasn't even focused on that stuff right at the start, obviously. But as far as where money came from, People Can Fly were the developers around Painkiller. So it was $1 million tour, and we had 16, maybe 17 players. Actually, during the grand final, one guy dropped out. So Ben Woodward, who some of you guys might know from CGS times, old Four Kings manager, he played a bit of Painkiller back in the day as well. He actually signed up for the tournament, finished last, lost his first game, and I think won $5,000 or something ridiculous. So that was the weird thing about it, that the money was comparable, if not better, than today, because it was a 1v1 game. But the field was just, it was a really strange thing that, not a big community around the game, really pushed. They said that they got great numbers for it, but I'm not sure from where.
Yeah, we never actually saw numbers for the event. That's true.
No, they did. They released some numbers for the MTV show, which were, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm just making this up as I go along, but something sticks in my head saying 12 million, which just doesn't make any sense for me. Actually, I have to say, maybe, MTV was more popular back in the day.
Maybe, because that outdoes pretty much everything in existence thus far for esports, as far as I can reconcile. I don't know. Exactly. Maybe that's true. Maybe it was a bunch of teenagers who saw video games and money. Who knows? Who knows? Regardless, though, it was kind of a big event. Probably the biggest event, I would say. Definitely top 5 to compare it. Go check out the VODs, or at least look at clips of it to kind of see everything, because it was.
I think that last game's on YouTube, actually. And
it was actually a pretty good series, was it not? The grand final.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous thing as well. Fatality came in.
Oh, that's right.
Through the year, Vu had won everything. Then the later we got, Fatality picked up one here, one there. Came to the grand final. Vu was in the upper bracket into the grand final, Fatality in the lower bracket. Needed to win 2 best-of-3s and smashed him. Just destroyed him on stage. I'm not sure if that was a nerves thing or what, but he was pretty sick to watch. Yeah, Fatality, that's where he made his name from that kind of situation,
Yeah, that was definitely go check out the VODs of that. Obviously, it doesn't carry too much weight these days, but it was kind of a first of its kind, and if you guys are interested in esports history at all, it was definitely awesome to check out. So would you kind of consider that event the event that kind of triggered something in your head that thought, I could make a full-time job, I could do this for the rest of my life?
Yeah, that was it. The MTV thing was the point where I said to my parents, because, they always supported me, but they were always, at the end of the day, my parents, they always wondered, is he wasting his time here? My mum used to refer to shoutcasting back in the day as shouting. And she used to say, have you got a shout tonight? And I was like, oh my God, I hope she never says that in front of anyone that I ever know. But that's the point where they realized, okay, he's delaying university, still delaying university. But it could be okay, if this is something that he likes to do, then sure, go for it. Sadly enough for us, CPL after 2005 lost its way.
Sure.
And we moved on to other things. But, you know, if it wasn't for that MTV thing, I guess I wouldn't be here right now.
To kind of change a little bit, you mentioned this somewhat earlier when you were talking about how kind of back in your day it was audio only, and everyone had to basically, if you weren't doing a good job at what you were doing, people just turned the stream off. They didn't have a video to mute the audio portion. These days, where practically anyone with pretty simple knowledge of XSplit and Twitch can turn both of them on, hit 5 or 6 buttons, type in a couple of passwords and logins, and they can automatically start casting. Do you think that the barrier of entry is too easy these days compared to kind of what you grew up, or do you welcome the fact that anyone can turn on a stream and try to cast?
I love it. I mean, without Twitch and Owned, who knows where, you know, myself, Wheat, Red Eye, run off another 10, 15 names who really make a great living from esports. Without that breakthrough, I mean, let's look back. I mean, CPL 2005 was streamed using don't even remember what they were using. That wasn't even octo-shape times before that. I think they ended up using like Akamai for the grand finals, the MTV side of things. But, you know, we broke through with Octoshape, which was, we were using a TriCaster to produce stuff. It was a tiny, tiny setup. You can produce better now on one monitor right in front of you.
Right.
Right, you can do that now. Now, and it moved forward. We had Octoshape, which offered this great service, you know, the whole peer-to-peer side of it. Great if you've got a crap internet connection, you want to watch video. Really terrible if you're from Sweden, you've got great internet and you've got a bandwidth limit, because it used to suck it out of you and say, well, you just paid 100 euros for this one. This guy paid 2 euros for his shit internet. Let's give it all to him and he can watch his video in peace. You had to download a plugin. You had to. It was a pain in the arse to get everything running. Now with Twitch, with Owned, with the other solutions out there, it makes it so much easier. Your question about if the entry level's too low, I think a lot of people mistake being able to cast online from what I would say, I'd say bedroom casters, to being able to do a big event. If you took some guys that have done lots of online stuff, have great experience and are great casters there, and put them in front of the World Championships for League of Legends or the WCS for for StarCraft 2, like they somehow expect these days, they'd crumble. A lot of them would crumble. It would be a sink or swim kind of thing. And I think that's one step that a lot of new casters really need to work on. Is yes, you're great online. You need to really work your way up to being an event caster, because it's a completely different thing. You're at home, one of the players disconnects. What do? You take a break, you stick on some music, you come back after the pause, you talk a little bit in between to fill it. Nicely done. If you're Demon and Jat at the World Championships when they had their thing, people can't just step in and do that role. And that's, I wouldn't say it's too easy, because we need new talent. We need new casters coming in. At some point, we're gonna start dying. Hopefully, others before me. But that's gonna start to happen, and certainly people are gonna start having kids and saying, "It's been great, guys, but I might need to move on right now." I hope that doesn't happen, but inevitably for some it will. So yeah, we need this talent. Twitch, Owned, and the likes have brought it to us. We just need to find a way of nurturing that talent to really bridge the gap between the old school event casting guys right now and the new guys. And some people that have done that really well. My prime example, actually, I will say is sorry, Demon I'm saying he's getting old. I'm not saying you're getting old. I'm saying you are already there, guys. Sorry. Apollo is a perfect example of when he first started World Cyber Games as a kid, basically. He was a young guy, had no experience and stuff like that, and he did his preparation. He did more preparation than I think a lot of guys who do events right now still do. And he did it the right way. One thing, and I'm sure I didn't get to see all of Red Eye's Real Talk. Actually, I was still halfway through it when I came in here to do a sound check. One thing that Paul does and always has done and has always stressed this point is preparation is everything. If you don't prepare for an event, you are totally screwed. I actually pulled a quote from an old teacher of mine that is, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. It actually fits really nicely in this situation, because if you don't prepare, and I can tell you, I'm going to events still now, right now, and casters are turning up and asking me, what's this team? You know, who's this team? Who plays this role? Who does this? Who have they beaten? And you can't do that.
Yeah, it's true. Out of all the moments you've had kind of in your casting career thus far, do you have a favorite? I hate asking these questions, but I feel like they're always warranted. If you can kind of quantify a personal favorite moment in cast, whether it's a moment of a screw off where shit just went bad and you had a laugh, or a professional feeling moment, anything like that?
I had plenty of times with Too Good here at ESL TV where things didn't go bad, but it turned into a shitty moment anyway. One of the highlights from me and Too Good was casting Counter-Strike actually in this studio. Obviously been touched up since then. So we were casting Counter-Strike and look over at Jay, and he's just asleep in his chair like this. And at this point I was like, well, he's going to be really pissed if I don't wake him up. So obviously I didn't wake him up. And then at some point near the end of the game, I'd already been talking quiet because I didn't want him to wake up until the entire show was finished. At some point he woke up, put his hand on his keyboard and mouse, and was like, yeah, great play. Just came out with it out of nowhere like that. And I was like, oh my God. The camera was on him the whole time. Hilarious moment. But one of the really, I'd say my favorite moment so far is not such a distant past, which was the European Challengers Circuit Poland. A bit of a personal favorite for me. It was my birthday there, and the Polish fans made me, I actually have it in the other room, a big A3 size card. Everyone there signed it, and when I came on stage at the end, they all stood up and sung happy birthday to me. Alex Ich from Moscow 5, sorry, sang happy birthday to me, which I didn't expect out of, you know, a team which speaks less English out of everyone that I think we have from Western League of Legends. So yeah, that event, the whole birthday thing, it was really emotional. It was a great crowd there and great people. You know if there's video of that anywhere that people can go check out? I think there is. If you Google or in YouTube, probably find like Alex Ich happy birthday. Yeah, there it is, first hit. Cool. I can actually just put it in the chat so if people want to go check it out. Now. And so, yeah, that was something I didn't expect. He just post-game interview, they just won their game, and he gets the microphone and starts singing happy birthday in his Russian accent to me. So yeah, perfect. In terms of all the other co-casters that you have, and you might hurt some feelings here, but do you have a favorite co-caster? No. You just kind of enjoy casting with whoever? So that was the politically correct answer. Sure. And it's really hard to really quantify because I've worked with so many amazing casters over the time. Let me ask then, do you have someone that you feel you work the best with, that kind of a counterpart to Joe Miller? Despite the fact that me and Demon are two play-by-play commentators, I think our synergy and the fact that we've been casting together for more years than, you know, these kids have had internet these days, is a really big thing, and that's why we're together popular. It's not because, you know, if you look at the Demon and Jack combo, or me and Jack, or if you put anyone with Jack basically who can do play-by-play, you get a different thing from the game. You get more expert analysis. You get, you know, the feeling that a pro player, an ex-pro player that Jack is, an ex-jungler obviously, is giving you all this extra information that, quite frankly, myself and Demon would struggle to pull out in probably 3 weeks of looking at the same screen. So that's a different thing. The one thing that me and Demon have is that we know each other inside and out. We lead each other perfectly. The jokes seem to roll off perfectly. We have even the awkward moments somehow turn out to be funny because we can play around them. But yeah, Demon definitely is right up there with my favorite guys to cast with. Obviously, Too Good in the past with Quake Live. Another, we only had fun. There weren't any bad times, I think, on stream with Jay. With Paul, with Tosspot. Just generally awesome. I think when I talk about the top level of casters, like everyone who's really doing events these days, I think I can cast with pretty bang on. I mean, I don't know if that's just my style as a play-by-play commentator, that you learn naturally to fit in a lot easier with commentators. But yeah, anyone who's worth their salt these days is a good partner for me. That's how I feel. I mean, I've had the opposite as well. At Gamescom last year, I did a publisher presentation, I want to call it, of a game called Air Rivals. I still have a T-shirt to remind me of the bad times, actually. So it was this flying game, and I can guess that no one in chat's ever even heard of it. So it's this flying game where you're like a robot flying thing. Still don't really know what they're called. They fly around and they try and shoot each other. But what happens is they just fly in circles for like a really long time, and then they go back and they get ammo, and then they come back and they do circles again. So in this 3-hour best of 3, one guy got a kill. There was one kill in the entirety of it. But because each best of 3 was a mini best of 3, this guy won one mini best of 3, but the other 2 were draws. So the whole set was a draw. So all best of 3s were a draw. And at the end, they were like, and I had the worst co-moderator in the world. Again, I hope she's not watching, bless her. I said after the first game, this guy's got a kill. You know, he's won this first best of 3. So surely his opponent is going to, change his tactics now. Does he have to go more aggressive, more defensive? Does he have to, do something different? No, he'll probably say the same. And that was it. And I was like, how can I do? I can't carry this long enough. So I just got into my old routine of just saying what was happening, like, and he's flying around in circles again. Oh my God! He's flying around in circles again. Yeah, and that was it. It was.
Are there VODs of this? Was that a live stream?
I hope there aren't any VODs of that.
I would love to see.
I'm sure there are still some VODs somewhere.
What was the name of the game?
Air Rivals. The funny thing is, actually, after all that, the guy who got this one single kill lost the game because he did less damage over the entirety of this big
it was the World of Warcraft effect. God.
But yeah, he got the one kill that we saw in 3 hours. He still lost the game. Makes no sense.
Oh, man. One last question before we cut to a break. Kind of alternatively, do you have a favorite caster or casting team that you prefer to watch over anyone else?
For League of Legends, Demon and Jack, 100%. I learn a lot from Jack, actually. I feel like I'm almost at school when I did MLG Anaheim with Jack, and he was talking, and I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or I'd lead something, he'd say what I wanted to say but somehow couldn't formulate in my brain. He knows the game inside and out to levels which I probably will never know, if we're being honest. Other games, actually Paul is one of those guys who I'd say a lot like me that can make, or at least I hope I can make Air Rivals sound interesting for 3 hours when the guy who gets the one kill loses. I'm sure Paul would have done it a lot better than me. So with him coming to ESL next Gamescom, Paul, you can gladly take that slot. But yeah, Paul's fantastic to watch on the stage. I heard he danced to Gangnam Style, which I find quite awkward, but also fascinating at the same time. Did actually see a gif of that, looking sexy, mate. Yeah, other games, StarCraft. Honestly, I don't watch too much StarCraft. I've never been much of a StarCraft guy. I don't know. I'd say I've casted more StarCraft than I've watched. Which sounds weird, but at last Gamescom, which apparently I was just doing everything there for the fun of it, I casted Rotterdam, was alone on the side stage to do StarCraft. I got on there just to be a voice to help him out a little bit, and said, Team Liquid, I know you're watching, don't flame me. And I just did play-by-play from what I knew from playing myself, and it turned out a lot better than expected. So yeah, Demon and Jack right now are the people to watch for League of Legends, that's for sure.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here, guys. When we come back, we'll be talking more in depth about League of Legends and some other games that Joe has had the pleasure of casting. So don't go anywhere. More Real Talk with Joe Miller coming up here in just a second. All right, guys, welcome back to Real Talk. Thanks to the chat for giving me that GIF of Red Eye doing Gangnam Style there. We showed it on the stream a little bit. That's why we took a little bit of an extra long break. Joe, I got to ask you, of all the games that you've casted in esports, was Air Rider, whatever the fuck you just said, was that the worst that you've casted?
Yeah.
Really? Is there anything else that's close to that?
Nothing. Actually, nothing that really sticks out somehow.
Did you ever cast World of Warcraft, like a one-off or anything?
Actually, I did. I forgot about that. Yeah, actually, that could have been the worst because it was the most awkward. You know, Air Rivals, I was at a time in my career that I feel comfortable enough now to just spout bullshit about anything for hours on end. Back in, that was actually CGS World Finals. It was 2v2 World of Warcraft. I casted with Too Good. He knew everything about the game because he was, you know, a junkie. And I knew literally nothing. I had a level 40 warrior that I forgot, you know. I had no idea what I was talking about. So what I did for an entire day of 2v2 World of Warcraft was say,
Oh,
you know,
my
we came
God.
back from the break. So, Jay, you know, it's 0-0. Take us through it. And then at the end, team blah, 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 have won 1-0 up. Jay, we're going into game number 2. Take us away. And then at the end, congratulations to this team. They've just won the finals. Brilliant, James, or what? You know, it was horrible. I had no idea.
Which event was that? That wasn't the one that the Frag Dolls like hosted or whatever, was it?
No, that was the CGS. So CGS, they had this whole TV thing. But they also did like the World Finals thing where they played CS in a proper format, and you know, they had this 2v2 WoW thing, I think, as a kind of look to see whether it was CGS World Finals for individuals. Like a look to see if World of Warcraft was suited. Dell were really on board with their XPS WoW machine that they had.
That's right.
Yeah, the game, you know, eSport, and Blizzard said it themselves, so I'm not scared to say that it was a second. It was, you know, it was just a later idea that came with World of Warcraft. They built this great game. Don't get me wrong, World of Warcraft, in its purest form, you know, as an MMO, it's up there with the best games that have ever been released, really. Whether it's suited to esports, nah, not at all.
To be fair, the 2v2 portion of that game at that stage of the game was absolutely terrible. It was 30 minutes of just complete and utter boredom as nothing happened. Then finally someone died and you went on to the next match. So I do not envy you at all. I think I was at that event. Terrible time casting that. What has been your favorite game to cast?
See, this is where I'm going to piss people off.
Because it's not League of Legends, or because it is? That's a pretty binary answer.
See, this is the funny thing, right? Battlefield 1942 was, for me, the game that I was most knowledgeable about, actually. When I said something there, I was always 1,000,000% sure that it was true. That obviously is not 100% correct when it comes to League of Legends, even with Counter-Strike or Quake. So Battlefield always holds that kind of really special place for me because I was so into the game and so inside the community. But you know, Counter-Strike in its prime for me was one of the most thrilling experiences. You know, the teamwork, the individual shots, the whole story with Counter-Strike, because it's been around for so long. The players that were there now were, a lot of them still around back in the 2003, 2002 periods even. And the story for me is what makes esports so interesting. League of Legends, we don't have that. Up until now, yes, we have a storyline, you know, 2 years. Let's call it. I mean, just over a year, really, if you look at the actual seasons. But the games themselves, you can talk, you know, from a little bit earlier on. But I have to say, League of Legends, I never wanted to cast it in the first place. Probably getting flamed right now, but I'm going to explain that. So League of Legends was a game that I started playing earlier than 90% of people, maybe even 95%. I was in a very, very early stage, and I'm sure Riot won't be all annoyed when I say the game looked like hell back then.
You and me both, man. I quit and went to Han.
I was never a Dota guy. I think I played 2-3 games of Dota in my entire life. So League of Legends wasn't really on my radar. I had this bad experience then in the alpha, then the beta was there, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. A few guys here at the office were playing, and I was, bam, instantly addicted. I played so much League of Legends. And I think as a caster, it's really important to have a game that you don't have to work with, if that makes sense. You know, one that you don't have to study to a level where you sometimes lose your enjoyment, because that does happen to casters quite a lot. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the StarCraft guys are in a similar position, but kind of force hand because that's their job and that's where they are and that's their livelihood, and you know, that's what puts the bread on the table. But for me, I never wanted to cast League of Legends. I wanted it to be that game for me that I enjoyed playing so much. And then, you know, ESL and Riot, we have a great relationship together, and it was suggested then that I come to the Season 1 championships to cast League of Legends, at which point I was like, oh, I don't know if I, as a player, I know the game, so-and-so, but am I really at that level where, because League of Legends is not a game that you can jump into. Quake, Counter-Strike, a lot of other games, FPS games in particular are like that you can jump in and, yeah, you don't know everything, you can't call every strategy, you can't maybe even name every weapon, let's say. But if you're a good enough caster, you can really bring it home. League of Legends, and I hate to point fingers at Tasteless actually here, but we've seen what Tasteless has done this week, and I find it really awesome that Tasteless is involved with League of Legends for the IPL5 Korean qualifiers. I talked to him already back at MLG Anaheim, and he was already playing there. But right. You see, I mean, it doesn't help that Tasteless had a crappy commentator with him. I'm just going to say it, and real talk, no fluff and all that kind of stuff. The guy with Tasteless didn't do Tasteless any favors because he wasn't an English native speaker, which really hurt the broadcast as a whole. But you could tell from Tasteless that he was probably at the same position I was at the Season 1 championships. No one could really flame me that badly back then because, quite simply, there was no one else to compare to. At this day and age, it's something different, actually. And yeah, League of Legends, like I said, was my game to play. They asked me to cast it. Went to the Season 1 championships. I felt I did a good job. Riot were happy with it. And from then I just thought 1.6 is slowly but surely going this way. League of Legends, we saw those numbers. They were incredible for everything that we've ever worked for in esports. Those numbers were like, holy shit. The obvious points of, obviously they're just fixing the stream numbers. That was the first thing that came out in esports,
That was.
That can't be right. That can't be true. It's no way. That's true. And that was my eye-opening, That was, I did this event almost as a favor to ESL because they needed to fill this spot, and it was a game that I love to play, and I thought, why not? So I jumped into it there. I saw the potential in it, and League of Legends right now is the most exciting game that I've ever cast. In terms of excitement, hands down, the things that happen are so exciting. I mean, even the games, and Demon will probably back me up on this one, the ridiculous game at DreamHack this year between Moscow 5 and CLG-EU. CLG was so far behind. The game was at the stages where I think the servers would have broke because the timer doesn't go that long. That's how far it went in. and they came back and won this game. And we talked so much filler in the meantime where really nothing was going on. But that's really rare in League of Legends. And it's either a 20-minute stomp, which are actually easier to cast because it's always pace, something happening. These long games that turn out to be more exciting are harder to cast, but the excitement is just really on a different level with League of Legends. I can honestly, without trying to appease my fans in League of Legends, I have Counter-Strike fans, and League of Legends wins it for me.
Was there a game that kind of died off that you wish hadn't, so you could have continued casting that? Or with kind of what you just said, you're happy with League of Legends, so maybe you're kind of glad that 1.6 did die off. So because now you can cast League. Am I putting words in your mouth, or is that correct?
No, that's not strictly true. I mean, I love Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike goes there. Obviously, the reception is somewhat so-so.
Did you see the TV thing that they announced last night?
Right, so that's going to be ready for ESWC. That's already a big step forward.
Yeah.
I will be casting CS:GO in the not so distant future. A lot more. We've been doing bits here and there on ESL TV for Go for CS:GO, the tournament that we run every Sunday on ESL. But I've not really, there's no 1.6 to really commentate a tournament here, a tournament there. CS:GO is still not really consolidated, and I think it's going to take a while for it to grow, but I certainly didn't wish 1.6 to die. I think the game itself is fascinating to watch, has such a big storyline, has such a high skill curve. It's really a great esport. The one thing that obviously let it down was its graphics. I mean, for me and for people that watch it and even play it, it doesn't matter how a game looks, but for the guys that are putting the money into esports, of course it matters to them. How can Intel sell their newest processor on a game that looks like you can run it on, well, that old PC that my dad bought way back in the day?
Right.
So yeah, that's unfortunate. The one game that I'm sad that died is Quake. Honestly, Quake Live. You know, we've had the Adroits LAN last weekend. I didn't really see the numbers on that one, but for me, Quake was I'd say the easiest game for a non-gamer to get into esports. It's 1 versus 1. You kill someone or you die. The guy with the highest score at the end wins. Yeah, there's more, obviously, on the bigger scale. You've got the armors in there that you can really talk to, that you can really add in there in terms of analysis and higher level commentary. There are a lot of things that you can add to Quake, but from a first look point of view for a non-esports person, it's really great. And I want to say that 1v1 FPS is sadly feels like a dinosaur somehow. You know, these games that are coming out these days are so dumbed down in terms of their movement, in terms of what you can do. And I'm waiting for the day that either id Software make a bloody good Quake again, or someone comes along and, quite frankly, rips Quake out and does it in a different light, you know? Just takes Quake, puts it into a different game, gives it the support it needs. I mean, they've missed a massive, massive chance, in my opinion, with Quake Live, you know? The free-to-play, browser-based game, that's where you can get your millions in straight away. But what did they fail to do? I don't know really why, whether it's a budget thing or what, that they didn't put leagues in there. I mean, to take the StarCraft reference, for example, to, you know, have your bronze all the way up to Grandmaster kind of ranking system with leagues in it. You know, you win a game, you win points. You've got something to play for then. You want to win another game to go up even further and get into that next tier. Or, you know, on the other side, you start losing and you say, well, why am I losing? I don't know, let's watch some better players. And that's how you build a community, you know. You don't just give them the platform. You have to almost feed them an addiction. Addiction's not a word that I really like to use, but a hook. You have to hook them with something. And leagues inside of a game are a really important thing for that. I mean, look at StarCraft. If StarCraft was just everyone mixed together and you didn't really get matched up properly, you had nothing to work for or against,
it'd be
would
like
so
Quake?
many people be into it?
Do you think that's where id messed up with Quake Live? I mean, the biggest reason that id messed up with Quake Live, is that kind of the biggest reason? They had no goal. There was no level 30. There was no rated. There was nothing like that. It was just, here's Quake in a browser. Have fun.
So, yeah. So they had 4 tiers in the game, which you could kind of see if your opponent, you know, the guy that's already sat in the server, whether he's, you know, green, which is on your level, if he's a little bit under you, whether he's above you, whether he's very difficult or whatever it was. So you had that, but Quake's not an easy game to match up, and I think that was part of the problem for id Software. They didn't really have, you know, the formula, the magic formula to say, if you do this and your accuracy is this, then you're on this level, because Quake was one of those games where you go in, and it's very, you know, really, I've only got a German word in my mouth. Selten. Is that even an English word? Selten?
I have no idea.
It's a German word as well. Damn it. Yeah, that's the danger of speaking German all the time. You know, it's not often, let's put it that way, that you have an even game in Quake Live, or in a lot of the Quakes. You, most of the time, shit on the other guy, or you get dumped on from an even higher level. You know, it's very hard to match up because there are so many different factors in Quake Live. And I think it wasn't that id Software didn't see potential to do something like that. I think it's just they maybe didn't know how to really work that. They missed the boat with it. Let's just say that. I mean, even if they've had the ladders in there and they weren't perfect, the players would have helped them gradually in gathering all the statistics from everything, and you know, they could have eventually, maybe even only now, but that game would have lasted a lot longer. And Quake's missing for me in the esports circuit for sure. Sadly.
Paul brought up the fact that Painkiller HD is coming out. Do you think that there's any interest, or should we even look to that right now from an esports perspective?
See, one thing that I really loved about Painkiller was the speed of it, the pure speed. It was a ridiculously great game to watch. I mean, imagine watching Painkiller on a HD screen, on an HD stream. We used to watch it, like we said, on these shitty streams where you could hardly get 10 frames out before you'd start lagging, and then the next 20 would suddenly jerk out towards you. You know, you missed a lot.
That's true.
But right now, honestly, if they do Painkiller HD right, it could be a big game. It was fun to play. The pros all say, every time I talk to the likes of Sturmy, even the Quake guys, who most of them played it for money, there's no getting around that, enjoyed playing the game. It was just everything to do with the game, all 17 of them. They enjoyed playing it. Whether they can do that again in Painkiller HD, I mean, let's just say there are not many remakes, sequels to games that meet expectations, sadly enough, these days.
Sure.
That could be our fault, though. Maybe we're just stubborn.
That's true. We already got the good stuff. Why would we want something that's kind of less than the good stuff? So I want to jump to League of Legends, and we'll probably spend some time here. So the first question is, a lot of people compare League of Legends right now, at least when it was starting out, to kind of the World of Warcraft effect, where you had this huge user base, and that's where the viewers came from. That's why you saw the huge numbers that you did. That was kind of the second excuse after people said that they were doctored. It was like, oh, well, it's the WoW effect.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any comparisons to this day between the two titles?
Well, there's got to be, hasn't there? I mean, if you play a game, you're more likely to watch it. And if more people play it, then more people are likely to watch it. The one thing that Riot did, which separated those numbers out for me, was how they went about integrating it into the client. And the HON community were all pissed about, it doesn't count because they've got the player in the launcher, which wasn't actually the case. You clicked it and it took you to a browser, but still, they advertise it. And I don't understand why other companies aren't doing it. I mean, Blizzard, I think, for a couple of events recently have been putting links inside of the StarCraft 2 game itself.
They just started, I think, with
they just started.
Yeah.
A year too late already, in my opinion.
Yeah, 2 years too late.
I don't know why more people aren't doing that, actually. I don't know what they've got to lose. If they build a community, I mean, sadly, we have developers and publishers who don't understand esports, number one, is half of the problem. And number two, that they're scared of somehow losing out on the money, It's like, why should I, as a game maker, push Joe Miller's stream even though he's casting my game? Because I'm not going to directly earn any of that money. And that's a weird situation that we have to get around. But I think that Riot, the big company that they are with the successful game that they have, are leading by example and showing other companies out there that are going to, maybe bring new esports titles in, or those that are already in existence, that you don't have to be scared of that esports is a good thing for you. I mean, if Riot hadn't have pushed that Season 1 World Championship, those numbers would have been, I'd say, flat at the best. We had a problem when, a lot of streams moved from OWN to Twitch, the numbers fell off. Not because people didn't like Twitch or something. It was because they were used to it. These are people that have come into esports almost, not luckily, but they've just happened to stumble across it through this news post about esports here, through seeing this link to this professional player's stream. And they get used to being in this one place. They don't know their way around our esports scene. I mean, for me, it's easy to know, okay, I want to watch this player. He's on Owned. I'm going to go there and find him. This guy's on Twitch, so I'm there. Which tournament's running on here? I can find that. But for the general guy, you have to point them. You have to literally shove them in the right direction and say, this is where you watch it. Go ahead. Do it. And I hope that, there's this whole argument thing going on right now in the StarCraft and League of Legends community where they're talking about StarCraft dying and, it's all League of Legends. The commentators are all moving to League of Legends. It's rubbish. I mean, if Blizzard do it right, they've got no worries. I mean, the StarCraft community is great, and I'm a big fan of the StarCraft community and how mature it can be at times. Notice the "at times" bit at the end. And I just hope that, for everyone in that community's sake, that Blizzard do say, the World Championships are coming up. Let's really push this and see if we follow in Riot's footsteps. What does it bring us? Will we improve on the stream numbers from what we had at BlizzCon last year or from this qualifying event? Now they need to see esports as a bigger picture of not just a way that other people are making money, but that they can take the success of the game that they've already spent the money to develop and make it a bigger thing. I mean, I'd almost say that, these TV adverts, the billboard adverts, the, adverts on the side of a bus that one gamer might see every half an hour when it's driving around town, that costs a lot of money. I'd say throw that bloody money into our community, into esports, run tournaments on a weekly basis. Doesn't have to be, thousands every week. Drop a couple of hundred here, drop a couple of hundred there, get some good casters on board, and you can really build scenes out of nothing from that budget that they would have spent on traditional media, because we're all on the internet now. Like, really.
Do you think Blizzard or any other company, any other kind of esports league can catch Riot right now in terms of numbers? Or is League just too big? Do they have too much of a... Do they have 70 million people to pull from right now?
So, see, it's still hard to say because, Demon brings up a good point there that only the real official, the season stops, inside the client. These guys, me, for example, when I do a show 3 times a week here, I'm not inside the client and I don't see the numbers from that. So when I have Kalaris sitting here, in the other studio doing a StarCraft show at the same time as I'm doing a League of Legends show, the numbers could actually be bigger for him than they are for me. Don't get me wrong, League of Legends still has great numbers, but it's still a fairly select few events and players, I will say, because the odd one is regularly in 30, 35K when he's streaming these days. Right. But it's still only a select few that are really getting that. And I think with Season 3, they want to generally, streamline their whole system with having this Season 3 Championship Tour and then the Challenger Circuit or whatever it's going to be called underneath, so that people know, this is my team in the top tier. I can have a second division team when I want to. Will anyone catch up with Riot in that respect? I don't see it. I don't know where it's going to come from, but where did League of Legends come from?
Right.
It came not out of nowhere, because obviously it's a MOBA game, a Dota-based game, whatever you want to call it. So it wasn't a completely new game out of nowhere. One company that I think doesn't get enough attention, maybe, is Wargaming with World of Tanks. Now, that's a game that a lot of people don't like. It's not their kind of thing. From me, from a Battlefield side of view, it's more to what I used to kind of play. I actually did my first World of Tanks cast the other day. Wasn't as bad as I expected. Viewer numbers weren't great, but they have a massive scene behind them. They have I think their last number is 15 million or
it's
something
pretty,
like that.
Yeah, I've seen...
It's a huge game in Russia and Eastern Europe.
I've seen Twitch streams with 20,000 people watching World of Tanks out of nowhere. I've maybe watched total of 5 minutes of the game, so I have no idea what that looks like competitively. But are they kind of doing the same thing that Riot is in terms of growing a community kind of around esports and promoting it internally?
Yeah, they're trying, actually. They're we're doing the ESL Major Series every Thursday now. They're helping us out with Facebook. They've got 350,000 Facebook fans. They're going to have it in the client and what have you next week. So, it's really the start for World of Tanks. But with that amount of players, if you do it right, you can get something out of it. And I think that's the same for any game. I mean, if you look at the numbers that Quake Live got at its peak, they just didn't really land anywhere significantly. And that was not too many years ago,
Yeah.
But you saw Riot's first ever, they had this WCG thing and what have you. I don't really like to count that. I like to count the Season 1 Championship somehow as the first real event that they really put their heart and soul into. But the way that they went about it was unrivaled still up until now. And like you said, Blizzard started to do that recently with the whole integration into the client itself. They have to do more of that. And the sooner that these companies start to realize how important these esports events are for them and pushing them right, then the better. I mean, Blizzard already know it. And talking, Blizzard is probably not the best example to use because they've had these esports events in not just in StarCraft, in StarCraft 1, in Warcraft 3, in World of Warcraft even. So they know the importance of esports. They've got an esports team at Blizzard. They're clued up. They know what's going on with it. But some of these new companies, they've got a bit to learn there. And I just hope that as time goes on, people look at esports as a future rather than just let's dump money into it and hope that something blossoms.
Now, a lot of people from I guess just the Dota community at large, and probably will use harsher words than I will, but they basically think League of Legends is too primitive, kind of, when compared to Dota as a game. I just want to know, what are your own thoughts on that?
See, this is a really hard one for me to answer because as much as I'll probably... number one, I've played 2 games of Dota 2. One was against bots and the other one I got destroyed. I'm not familiar with Dota. I was never familiar with Dota 1. I said that earlier when I was talking about League of Legends. And I'll say that again, that I'm not familiar with Dota to really say, fuck you guys, League of Legends is better. Like most of the communities seem to be doing these days. It's normal to defend the game that you like. It's normal for me to, as a Sheffield Wednesday football fan, to say that the Sheffield hockey team sucks balls because it's a different game.
Right.
It's a normal thing in sports as well that I guess football guys don't like baseball. Do they go on the internet and say, your game's shit? Probably not quite as much as we do, but that's because we're internet-based. We are, on the internet. Dota 2 has some really great things, that's for sure. I can't say if the game's harder, only from what, the comparisons that I have, the whole denying thing in there. I think it's more important for the Dota guys right now that League of Legends is shitter than the other way around, because the Dota guys see what League of Legends has, and don't get me wrong, Valve did a great job with the International too. Like, that was such a great event. They did so much for it. Unluckily for them, they were like the first ones up, if you like. They came in there, they're like, bam, this is our event. Look, brilliant. Did a fantastic job with it. They've got great casters in there. Seen Toby is a great guy to work, to listen to. He's a fantastic caster overall, really talented. But then Riot came along with Season 2. They brought, they were at LA Live. They had it just seemed like a different level to me again. Like, from what I'd seen almost a week before, obviously a bit longer than that, but that Season 2 championships that Riot produced was so amazing. I mean, the grand final itself, I watched that, and I tried to look at it from a neutral point of view to pick faults at it, because that's, as a Northern English cynical bastard that I am, I like to pick faults with everything rather than say this was good. And I didn't pick anything out that I would really write down on paper as feedback, Obviously there were some things, but they did such a great job, and I think the Dota community is a little bit jealous. For me, I'd say both games, play your game, whatever it is, whether it's Dota 2, whether it's League of Legends, whether it's Heroes of New Earth, whether it's Smite, whether it's one of the other 3,000 MOBAs that are coming out or are in development after seeing how successful the genre's been. Play your game, watch your streams, support your casters, support your players, donate money when they're doing something where they need money, and just support the game that you want, and don't spend your time being proactive in slagging off another community. It's so counterproductive, and I hate to see it from every community. I hated it in Counter-Strike. compared to Counter-Strike Source. I hated it when it was Painkiller versus Quake 3. I hated it when it was Battlefield against, well, we didn't have anything better then, so we were lucky. But it's so counterproductive. Like, just play your game and forget about the others.
That was actually kind of...
On the technical point of view, like I say, I've not played Dota 2 enough, so I can't really give you a fair example.
Sure.
One thing I will say, though, is the Dota 2 in-game spectator kind of stuff that they do. Thumbs up to them for that. That's really nice stuff. I mean, Riot as well, you know, they developed that spec mode and then the proper spec mode, like, kind of re-release. And the spectator mode that we have in League of Legends right now is pretty bang on the point. What do we need? We need replays still. I still think that's a major factor that we're missing, not just for, you know, the safety from a league's point of view to, you know, check if something dodgy happens, which is very unheard of almost in League of Legends, from a new caster in particular's point of view, because yeah, you can cast these random games that are coming up, but it's better for you if you get a hold of SK versus Fnatic or M5 versus CLGEU, and you can do those big games from the comfort of your own home. You don't even need to stream them just to practice, and that's something that we're missing now, replays. And I think with Season 3, Riot know about replays. They've said for a while that they know about it, and it'll come.
A lot of the follow-up questions to this were kind of about the different communities and how basically they basically just shit on League of Legends constantly, and I think you kind of answered that. So we'll move on, and Toby1's real talk, obviously Toby1 from Dota 2.
Yeah.
He used the phrase that Riot bought its own esport, and this is kind of a phrase that in those other communities people have really latched onto. What do you yourself think about that statement?
So it's an interesting statement, number one, you know. What's the definition of bought? I mean, look at where League of Legends started, actually. And as a new game, you don't get into World Cyber Games, which is where they first went, without paying money for it. You know, you don't get into that without... That's just how business works, you know. You want to showcase your game, give us the money. But let's talk about... Yeah, I mean, you know, for the non-established esports games, at least.
Right.
But if you look at the Season 1 championships, it was $100,000, which is not a small amount of money, you know. $100,000 is $100,000. If you've got $100,000 you want to donate to me, be my guest. But for Toby to say that they bought their way in after... You know, the next big reaction from that was the International One. That was Valve saying $1 million. Valve released their $3 million, I think they said it initially, about Season 2 after that, if I'm not mistaken. Like, from my point of view, Dota 2, you can't be... I think he's wrong in saying that Riot really bought their way in. I think he's cutting a little bit close to home there. I mean, two times $1.6 million tournaments. Games in beta, they've not really making money off it properly as they'll wish to do in the future. It depends on your definition of buying your way into esports. As I've said, business is business, and you know, events need extra capital to make this tournament here run. I think you're a fool if you think that Blizzard don't help events, you know, tournaments run their events as well on the side. Like, you have to put money into esports. If you don't put money in, let's look at Quake Live, for example. How long it took them to really give a server to play on LAN and that kind of thing. Well, where are they today? If you don't invest in the right places, you're going to end up losing out. Yeah, it helps. Money always helps to get things rolling, but for me, the thing with League of Legends that sets it about... well, I'll be terribly surprised to hear that Blizzard actually does help. And I can tell you firsthand that they do help. There you go. I lost my chain of thought now. Damn chat. Where was I?
That's why you don't. It's sub for a reason, man, and you're still reading it.
Yeah, normally I'd just be reading.
Now I'm just gonna have to turn chat off.
That was great. Where was my point?
Riot buying into esports, but everyone pretty much buys into esports.
But everyone does it anyway. Yeah. So if you don't put money in there, you're not gonna get to the top level. That's just the way it works, I think, these days. And for me, Riot, the community, the size of League of Legends, maybe it gave it a kickstart, as you would hope all publishers would do to their games. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it would have got there on its own. Maybe it would have been slower. Maybe it wouldn't have been for 5 years until now if Riot would have really been, esports is not our thing. We're more considerate, we're more focused on the whole public side of things and making sure that the champion comes out, which they still do, actually. And Riot, they're on the ball, man. They know what they're doing. They've got some very talented people in there running the esports side of things. They've got a knowledge of esports throughout the entire company. And I think the fact that they are a younger company that's risen to success fairly quickly off the back of what was, Dota was a game built really for esports. I mean, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it was a competitive game right from the very get-go. It's not a casual game by any means. And, the fact that those guys left and ended up doing League of Legends and going more casual in a way, but the whole model that they have behind it, changing things to what their vision was, you can't take anything away from them. They've done such a great job with League of Legends. And I'd say, just to answer that question finally, did they buy their way in? No. I don't think buy is the right word. I think they pushed the game that they've already spent money on, have developed, and pushed it in the right direction. So, no, for me, buying their way in is the wrong phrase. Totally.
So I have kind of I guess it's a personal question about League of Legends. I guess I played the same alpha as you back in the day, right around the time that Han was kind of coming out and doing its own alpha. And my qualms with the game was that I didn't like the cartoony look of it. Obviously, it looks a lot better now than it did back then.
Yeah.
And then I kind of jumped over to Han, and I was a big Dota player prior to that. So what caused the big boom for League of Legends? Because in my mind, and I don't remember when, I went to Han, played Han, got into Dota 2, played a little bit of Dota 2, and then I kind of turned around, and League was just fucking massive out of nowhere. What was kind of the catalyst for that? I mean, obviously free-to-play is probably the easy answer there, but where did it, were you around when it was kind of growing, and what was that like to see the game grow like that?
See, I can't really answer you that question because it was the same for me as well, That Season 1 championship was the first time that I really thought about how big League of Legends was,
Yeah.
So I saw this, $100,000 already an eye-opener. Is it just another company putting another bunch of money like they did for Painkiller back in 2005 that's not going to do anything? Well, obviously it wasn't. Where did that boom come from? Honestly, I can't tell you. I mean, I guess Riot are the guys to ask there. They've got the stats at which point. I mean, I really, like you said, that graph must be really interesting to look at because
it was literally like just, it was like overnight, out of nowhere, League of Legends was just fucking massive. And I don't remember, the growth. I never saw it grow like you do with most of these games.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, so we had it in Europe, I think, more than anywhere else up till now that, we all were on one server. And then at some point, there were that many players that you would queue for 30, 40 minutes to get into a game.
Yeah.
Then you'd end up pressing the wrong button and closing your goddamn game and being in another queue for 40 minutes. And, they had a bit of a crisis, I'd say. I hope that's the right word there. Oh shit, what do we do? We've got these players who want to play, but they're all sat at home waiting to play. They need to be in-game. They need to be, from a business point of view, they need to be spending their money right now.
Right,
These are free-to-play game. The irony of a free-to-play game is that you've probably got pretty much a very high quota of playing payers in League of Legends, let's say. So... Yeah, that boom was just ridiculous. They split the European server into EU West and EU Nordic and East, which already, as through European history, of course, is going to cause some problems. Some not really political problems, but they're just the standard. I don't want to play with this nation in my server. They only speak German. Those damn Germans, blah blah blah, as it was back then. But then you've seen the Chinese servers. If I'm not wrong, China is way into double figures in servers. I believe 15, it may be 12.
Jeez.
But one of those numbers I believe is true. You've got servers now popping up in Brazil. You've got Taiwanese servers. The Australians still don't have servers, which I believe they're crying out for. I think there's a Thai server coming up. I'm not sure how they're grouped in Southeast Asia in terms of their server stuff. Anyway, but that the boom in League of Legends, I can't explain it. I don't think it's an esports thing.
Oh yeah, definitely isn't. But it seems like it's still growing.
Can't be so.
I mean, they released that infographic. I think it was last year around the season 1 where it was 30 million was kind of the active account, and here we are at 70 million that they just released right before season 2. So I don't know. That game is just it's growing exponentially. It feels like a report came out a little bit earlier or maybe later last week. 1.1 million concurrent for the grand finals for season 2. 8.2 million uniques turned into the event. What do those numbers mean to you, man?
To quote Demon, they're just what did he say? You're just a number. But actually, what he meant was it was playing more to the crowd, the live crowd there, which obviously you have to do at those events. Those numbers are so insane. I can't describe those numbers. I mean, they're not numbers that I expected to see. Not ever. I think ever's the wrong way to say it, but
not this soon.
Not this soon, yeah. I mean, League of Legends has been going that way, obviously, as working for ESL TV and having a close relationship with other tournaments as well. And we see publicly the numbers that come out there going up. These numbers are rising, all headed to the World Championships. And one thing you have to give Riot credit for there is the advertisement that they did, not just on the internet but locally as well. The amount of they've lost money on that event. I mean, there's no way they've earned money doing that event. I think they even said, I forget who it was exactly, that said we don't make any money, we lose money by doing this event, but they're giving it back to the fans. Whether you say that's clever marketing or whether you say that's just because they love esports is a different thing, obviously. But we've not seen, I'm going to go ahead and say it now, we've not seen an event of that quality promoted that well ever, and they've reaped the rewards for it.
You have fans, of course, around the world. One of the biggest questions I had in all the tweets and threads about this show is, why were you not there?
I knew this question was coming. So, yeah, you gave me the list of questions, and I said there weren't any that really bother me. And actually, I'll answer this one quite frankly as well, because there was a lot of talk about it in the community. As my monitor just switches off, which somehow really worries me, so I can't see anything that's going on. Maybe I'll be concentrated now to the end.
They're still good.
So here's the thing. Obviously, I was disappointed not to go to the Season 2 Championships. I've focused on League of Legends in the last year like I've never focused on a game before, in terms of developing my commentary, getting to know the players, their styles, their stories, just everything about them, getting to know the game as well as I can, putting countless hours into playing the game to learn it through that, from that aspect as well. And it was, in the end, a case of Riot came to me and were obviously, they were interested in having me there. That was I think never really a question. The problem came then was, what do I do there at the Season 2 World Championships? They had Demon and Jat, who, as I said earlier on, they are by far and away for me the best combo that we have right now. I'd hope to think that with Jat by my side, I could actually give Demon a run for his old man money. by this stage. You've got Freak and Rivington, who they've been at Riot for a very long time. Freak is the face actually of League of Legends. He does all the champion spotlights and what have you. And that was kind of their pairing. My question was then, where do I fit in there? Am I going to do interviews? Honestly, not really my thing. I don't mind doing interviews, but as anyone, Red Eye or Demon can probably attest to, I like to shrug them off if I can. I'm not a fan of doing interviews on stage before games in particular. Just annoy the crap out of me. That's not really my role, That's not what I like to do. Could I have hosted it? Probably could have. Could I have done as well as Marcus did, as DJ Weed did? No way. The guy's an absolute professional. He's got talent. I think he can only be matched by Red Eye in that respect as well. So it was honestly a case of, we want you there. We don't have the role. It sucks balls, but that's just how it's going to be. And yeah, I was annoyed with it, as I feel I had a right to be. There was a lot of talk of, oh my God, Joe's burning bridges here. I've not actually spoke to Riot really since that. I hope that I don't burn any bridges. I can't imagine that I've burnt any bridges, but who knows? I was upset that I didn't get to go there. I saw the community response, which I honestly never expected. Like, there was this petition going around, 5,000 signatures on it, saying, this thread, hundreds of comments long, saying, get Joe there, Joe sucks. Was a few of them as well, as per usual, on Reddit, but what are you going to do? And the community response for me was really, I'd say heartwarming is the right way to go about it. They see that I have a passion for League of Legends, that I really enjoy casting the game, that I want to cast more League of Legends in the future. And yeah, I was disappointed that I didn't get to go, but shit happens. What can I say? There have been worse things that have happened to me in my life.
Now, you have mentioned that you do play League of Legends yourself. I gotta ask, and you're probably not gonna give me an answer, but are you rated? Do you play rated? And what? Can you ballpark it? Can you tell us a median? Can you anything?
I can tell you exactly what rating I am. I am 1200 something. I only started playing, I think, two and a half weeks ago to get Riot announced the whole rankings thing. If you're gold, I think, and above, you get the Warhorse Janna skin and all this kind of thing. So I was like, yeah, why not? Why should I not do that? It's an account that I use for streaming a lot. So now I know I'm not as touchy about with this as some other people. So I think specifically StarCraft commentators are really,
that's where the next question is
with this thing of whereabouts are you? And I can understand it from a certain point of view. I mean, for me, I'm not a 1200 rated player. I can tell you that off the bat. I think I've played 20 games now in ranked, mostly solo queue, which all went to shit right from the very start. I had people who I would consider to be stupid in my team. I have to be careful in case anyone from Riot's there and once was like, I'm going to look at his account now and see what he said to these guys. But yeah, I had a horrible start to it, and I've started to climb back up again, and hopefully with a bit more grinding out, I'll get there. Honestly, I don't really care what people say about my rating and stuff like that. It means almost nothing to me, because I watch these pro players play. I see what they do. I see what they need to do. Yes, certainly if I could play, let's say, at Jack's level, and for as long and hard as he does, then yeah, I'd love to do that at the time. But honestly, I don't have time. I don't have time to grind to 2,200 elo to get diamond. I don't have time to honestly really care about it. I'd rather spend an hour researching teams and knowing exactly what they do than grinding out to get an elo score. For me, it doesn't matter.
All right. Well,
I wish I could see chat right now.
Nothing's actually even. I mean, they're all subs, so we don't have really any trolls in there. Although, if trolls do want to pay money, then I mean, I guess they can come in here and say whatever they want. Speaking of subs, we'll go ahead and start taking questions here once I wrap up. So, kind of start thinking of them. You can go ahead and start posting them if you want. We'll be taking those in just a little minute. Wrapping things up, give me your favorite Too Good story. Everyone has one, and it can't be the one where he fell asleep on the cast.
I'm just sorting through them in my brain, ones that he would and wouldn't want me to talk about.
I should just make this a normal question, to be honest, because so far I've asked almost everyone on the show, what's your favorite Too Good story?
I don't know if I have. I always felt that me and Jay were a bit outrageous when we were doing stuff together, and that included during the show and also in town after the show and stuff like that. I don't think I got anything for you, JP.
All right.
Sadly enough.
Not a problem. I'll move on. What does esports need next? Where do we go from the 1.1 million concurrent and 8.2 million uniques? What is next?
See, when I see those numbers, I get a little bit worried almost, because I think the next natural step with those kind of figures is the TV network saying, hang on a minute, those numbers are really damn big. And we saw this with CGS. We saw how CGS ended up, how they butchered the format of a lot of games to varying successes. What they did was, for the players and for esports, in a way, fantastic. Giving them that stable income, giving them these franchise teams that they could then build a name for themselves. I think that was just maybe the wrong time, something like that. I mean, these numbers that we're seeing right now didn't exist back at that time. The numbers that we have now, though, it honestly wouldn't surprise me to see Riot coming out with, we've signed a TV deal with, whether that be on a more lifestyle kind of channel or more sports. I'm still not sure where mainstream TV sees esports. I don't know if they see it as a sport just yet, or as more of a lifestyle thing. That's what it's been in the past for us on the likes of MTV. It's definitely not a sport channel. Yeah, I think they're going to come in. I think there'll be some offers. I hope that Riot play the game that they've played up until now, which is keeping League of Legends esports as pure as they can, not bending to really any rules. But TV companies come in and they do change things around. They sometimes make great successes. Sometimes they make big piles of dog shit. And I just hope that it's a success. But I kind of hope that's where it goes, because if it's done right, it means more money for everyone. It means the fans get to see more. It means the players get to earn more. The casters get more famous, get to earn more. The players as well, obviously. The Riot themselves get their name out there more. The network grows, and hopefully that's kind of some snowball effect, which means that esports will just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The overall picture of esports, I'm sorry, but we're never going to see all esports together in a big place like TV. I'm still not sure if TV is what we should be aiming for. For me, and I've been saying this for a long time, that the internet is the future of television. That we can put out big numbers through the streams that we have right now. TVs are starting to become more internet friendly in such that you can watch streams live on your TV. At that point, we can start selling ads on, at higher rates. I don't know. I think it's a really hard question to answer. Will we ever see StarCraft 2, Dota, Quake, and a Counter-Strike game somehow together in one format on TV? No. I think, sadly enough, for some games, they're never going to reach that height. And I think when one game does, I think it'll be a game that goes solo. And I see that game as League of Legends right now. I think they're going places with what they have.
What's the next big event you'll be casting League for?
Next big event is the Intel Extreme Masters in Singapore, which is, damn it, I don't have the dates, and I'd love to, but my PC is just black screen. I can't see anything.
I can find it for you.
I feel naked without my PC right now. and I don't want to go under the table. That'd be weird. Yeah, so Intel Extreme Masters Singapore. Obviously, I'll be there at that one, and then flying directly to IPL 5 as well, straight afterwards. So it's going to be, as far as I'm aware, Singapore is GMT +8, and Las Vegas is GMT -8, which means I am going to be so screwed by the time I get to Las Vegas. I looked at the flights. The shortest was, I think, 28 or 30 hours. The longest was 46. So I'm hoping and praying that my flights are booked with the help of, you know, someone who cares about me. And it's not the 46-hour line. I can't do that anymore. You know, I fly a lot with my job. I'm not scared of flying or something like that, but I really can't be bothered with these long plane flights anymore. They drive me insane, really.
They are a drag. The date is the 22nd through the 25th for IEM Singapore.
Correct.
And then IPL is 29th.
Yeah.
Through the 2nd. So check Joe out there. Do you see yourself doing this? You know, I have 6 months from now, but I feel like that's an easy yes. A year from now, 2 years from now, are we going to still see Joe casting?
See, there was one tweet that I put out in regards, you know, when the whole World Championship thing was going off, that I wasn't going to be there, that I was taking some time to think about things. And I set myself a bit of a, I don't know if you can call it a goal, maybe a deadline for that. I said 30. It's hard to say because when I look at how old I am right now, you know, I have a girlfriend, I don't have any kids, I'm not planning to get married anytime soon. My apartment costs me, you know, relatively little. But when I honestly think about what I want in the future, whether that's, you know, and I can say that I want to at some point settle down, have kids, have a big house, buy my first ever Ferrari. Fat chance of that happening. You know, that has to come at some point, and whether that's in esports, I hope to God it will be, because I don't want to leave esports at all. Will that be in that 5-year time frame that I've set myself till 30 years old? Who knows? I hope so.
And finally, kind of I guess the penultimate question here on Real Talk is define success. Using that as the definition for success, do you find yourself to be successful?
That's a real tongue twister.
It is. It's also a very job interviewee.
Yeah. But do I get a pay rise if I answer this properly? Maybe that can help me with my 5-year plan. So, define success as a caster. So let me tell you this: when I've done IPL and one more event before that, which is not announced up till now, so I can't talk about it, I will have done outside of OGN and the Korean, you know, their tournament series, so OGN, GOM TV kind of thing. I'll have casted at every major esports series that's ever existed. I'd say that's success. You know, people trust me enough to hire me, to pay me, to fly me to these places. People trust me enough or enjoy me enough to watch the whole time, you know, to put up with me on Twitter and Facebook, wherever they follow me, to watch me on streams regularly. I'm happy in what I do. Do I earn enough to buy that Ferrari I was talking about? Of course I don't. I could probably buy a Ford Fiesta if I wanted to. But I'm happy in what I do. I get to see the world. The jobs, us casters, you know, we're sometimes a bit drama queenish. The jobs, honestly, it's fun to do. It gets on your sack a bit, you know, these 30-hour trips that you have to make. But it's a bloody fun job to do. And if I'm making money enough to live happily and do this job, then I consider my success. Consider myself successful.
There you go.
There we go.
And that's why he didn't go to university.
Yeah. God.
So a couple of questions here. First one is from Red Eye. He says, ask him about Jay's car. Oh,
yeah. So there's a... See, if I'd have had this PC I don't even know what's wrong with it, to be honest. I think I might have kicked one of these many cables that are under here.
That's all. Just tell Carmack to get you a new one.
Yeah. I hope that I've not broken something. More like just kicked something out of position. So there we go. So yeah, Jay's car. So when we both moved here, Jay had a little red Mazda MX-5. Oh, it's back. Yeah. So that's good. So yeah, Jay had the red MX-5 Mazda. Yeah, he drove here in it. It's a two-seater, by the way. That just tells you how much Jay moved to Germany with, because he drove here with his two-seater car to move here. And so then, obviously, Jay left ESL TV, moved to Sweden. That little red car stayed on our car park until, I think, 2 weeks ago. The funny thing is, in Germany, they're pretty strict about this whole, dumping cars thing. If they notice that a car's there for a certain period of time, they'll ticket it, and then they'll take it away. But this car was there for, well, I don't know, 2.5 years maybe, since Jay's actually gone. And so the funny thing is, it's a soft top, right? You can slice it open. And someone did that. Someone sliced Jay's car open and I think stole radio out of it. I'm not sure. But Jay's got a friend that we don't know about. Someone who duct taped this slit back. And I was already quite impressed with that one until, a few days later when I saw a little bit further back in the canvas roof, another big slit. Don't know what they'd stolen this time. But then someone taped it back up again. Like, this guy really likes Jay, whoever he is. And then, yeah, that was kind of the last of it for, I don't know, 6-8 months. It was there. I actually got pink with the power of the sun rather than red after a while. And eventually, the Germans, they caught onto it. And they put a ticket on it, and the last couple of weeks they towed it away. So, yeah, that's the story of Jay's car that's now probably crushed.
Jay doesn't seem to care?
Jay does not care about that car. He actually offered to send me the keys, and then I could scrap it myself and keep the money. That's how much he just didn't care about his little red Mazda.
Jeez. From M8077 or 777, who is your favorite / least favorite League of Legends champion?
Oh, see, this is another hard one. So I've been playing a lot of Jax recently, and I've said in my cast that the sound of Jax hitting a tower is one of the most satisfying sounds you'll ever hear in League of Legends. However, my favorite champion overall is Singed. I love his troll abilities, just the speed that he has, the whole mechanics of playing Singed. So he's my favorite. Least favorite to play, I don't know. That's a hard one to really say. I hate these champions, especially, these champions that just seem like they're really boring to play. The mechanics are really simple. There's nothing really fresh going in there. I'd say like Karthus. I mean, I enjoy Karthus because of his ultimate. I think that's why most people enjoy playing Karthus. But spamming Q here and there and there and there gets a little bit boring for me. But I don't think I have a number one least favorite to play. But Singed is number one. He's best.
D-Man wants to know, what was Joe's favorite ever match he watched or commentated on? Standard question.
Yeah, that's a tough one as well. See, this is one part I saw from Paul's Real Talk. Where he was like, I hate this question.
Yeah. I try to leave these out because quantifying things from your past is very hard.
See, good job that I watched Paul's and saw that and realized it was coming. So I actually had prepared just for you, JP. But it's hard for me to say, obviously, after this so many years, so many different games, because, like you said, you can't really quantify what's the best. For me, DreamHack this last year, League of Legends, M5 versus CLGEU, that whole comeback, I forgot how many minutes the game was, 75 minutes, I want to say somehow. Massive goal difference, almost double figures Baron, that's how many they'd taken down. And they came back from it and they managed to win that game. And that for me was one of the most exhilarating moments, not just because of how excited I was, but the fans there at DreamHack, not the biggest crowd that we've had, but they were damn loud. They enjoyed doing that. And the comments afterwards were really positive, how me and Demon Cassidy, how it all went. And just overall, great match. Really enjoyed it. The feedback that we got was perfect, and yeah, favorite game, I think I can say.
The Sizer wants to know, as a new player wanting to try out MOBA games in general, what would be the easiest to get into, League of Legends or Dota 2?
League of Legends, I would say. I mean, both are actually hard. The MOBA genre it's just not an easy genre to jump in at the the deep end. I think League of Legends. Actually, I think League of Legends could be your best game. But like I say, I've not really played much Dota 2. I have played a lot of LoL, and whether that impairs my Dota 2 skills because the mechanics are obviously different, I'm not sure. But for me, League of Legends, first thing I would do is practice last hitting. You're going to need to do that all the time. Doesn't matter which champion you're playing, which lane you're playing it, unless you're a support, I guess. But learn how to last hit. That's one of the most important things that a lot of players still, after so many games, still can't get the hang of. Once you got that down, then you can start to really move on to the deeper things in it.
Then one last question from the chat from Safaris. I want to know what the most exciting game between Quake and, or the most exciting game is between Quake and League of Legends is for Joe. Because as much as I like League of Legends, I remember the intensity wasn't quite comparable because as a player, you knew how skillful the things they did were.
I think as a League of Legends player, you know how much skill it takes to steal a Baron away as a Nocturne flying by and smite in the very last second to take down a Baron. To be pulling off some of the insane, juking skills that we see. It's hard to compare. I mean, it's almost impossible to compare a Quake Live game to a League of Legends game. The skill points are totally different. Aiming and the mechanics that you need in Quake. Totally different to what you need in League of Legends. Normalized there brings up a good point. QuakeCon 2010 finals, another set of games, Cypher vs. Cooler, that will stay in my mind forever. I think it's almost impossible to answer it. I loved Quake. I loved seeing comebacks in Quake. I loved seeing 20 seconds on the clock and one guy chasing like mad around the map to try and find that final frag to tie him up and put him into overtime. But in League of Legends, I love to see that one guy being chased down and managing to escape as well at the last second. Then the rest of his team coming in, they end up turning around the fight, end up moving to Baron. There's so many different things in League of Legends and in Quake as well that can be exciting. I can't compare it. I'm just going to sit on the fence. Sorry.
All right, well, that is going to be a show. Joe, got any shout-outs, buddy?
No. Well, I say no. I'm actually going to give quite a long list.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Number one, there's my Twitter on the bottom of the screen. I still need new followers. I always like new followers, so go ahead and do that.
You should just change it to Dusty Miller.
No. I can't do that. I can't do that anymore.
Joe Miller the Aquarian.
That could be my new name,
Maybe
Joe
so.
Goldfish Miller.
Goldfish Miller, and you only play sea creatures in League of Legends. Or sea avatars. Champions, whatever the fuck they're called in League of Legends.
Good job, JP. Good job.
Thank you.
But first of all, to you, JP, for inviting me on to Real Talk. Keep it up. It's actually over 5 years now that I've known JP. I think we've both come a long way.
Yeah.
JP still does owe me a bottle of vodka.
Let's tell that story. Why do I owe you a bottle of vodka, Joe?
Why does JP owe Joe a bottle of vodka? So, 2006, 4th of July, round about 10 p.m.
Wasn't that in Dallas?
This moment ever. I got the times down, the dates down, and everything.
Wasn't that in Dallas too?
That was in Dallas, Texas, 4th of July, Independence Day, for those Europeans out there that might not realize. So we got invited to this pool party that was actually really damn cool. And then we realized, I think it was a Sunday even.
No. This was before the event even went off. This was like a Thursday or a Wednesday.
There was something wrong with the time, right?
Something like that.
So JP's like, all right then, guys, I'm totally gonna drive and get the bottle of vodka that we've been looking for. So we all ditched in the cash. Actually, I think I ditched in the cash.
Something like that.
And then JP comes back with this giant bottle of vodka.
Belvedere vodka.
It looked very tasty.
I think it was a 3 liter, something like that.
3 liters. It wasn't a cheap bottle of vodka, that's for sure.
It's about $150.
JP, tell everyone what happened next.
So, what happened was Joe dropped me off, we were at the airport, and I think I saw Joe or something like that, and we basically split off. We were somewhere. Maybe we were at the event, and this was a rap party.
Yeah,
Maybe you're right. So
event.
we split off. I went off with my friends that lived in Dallas locally, and Joe went off with the rest of the crew, the production crew, and went over to, I forgot what Brad's position was at WSVG, but one of the higher-ups at WSVG, his parents' house where there's a pool. So Dallas, Texas, it's hot. It's generally a hot place. I left the bottle of Belvedere as well as a couple other bottles of liquor inside the car. And when you leave something like that that's corked in a hot space, the cork tends to expand. And the alcohol inside tries to escape, evaporate somewhat, or at least maybe a tiny, tiny bit. So anyways, what happens is the cork comes unloose, and I don't really recognize it until I go and try to pick up the bottle neck first. I pick it up, and I pick it up upside down because it was at an awkward angle inside the car. I pick it up, cork comes loose, and I lose probably 3/4 of the bottle. Joe, you think is that fair?
I'm going more towards 4/4 of the bottle.
There was not much left, except on my jeans, which I wore the entire night long. And anytime Joe wanted a shot, I said, "Joe, right here, man. I'll squeeze some out for you, and you can have some vodka." But to this day, I still owe you a bottle of vodka. That is true. That is true.
5 years ago already.
Yeah.
So it's a long, long time. So yeah, JP, as I said, I was in the middle of my showers before we got that awesome story that needed to be aired to the world out. Keep doing what you're doing. I think the world appreciates it. It's nice to see that you're, want a little bit more League of Legends action as well. I think what you do, the community will enjoy. So keep with that. More towards the side, I'd like to say thank you, as per usual, to the guys at ESL who, pay me to do esports stuff. Without them, I would probably have a few problems. Let's say that. I'd be somewhere else, that's for sure. And also to everyone who's working hard with esports, Demon in particular, Red Eye, who's going to be coming and working with us. That I'm really looking forward to that at the start of next year. And obviously to, I think maybe even more importantly, the companies that are putting their money into the likes of, into the ESL, into MLG, to IPLs, to everything out there. You guys are, really helping esports to become what it is. And also, finally, but definitely not least, to you guys that watch. Because, JP, if this, this crowd of people weren't watching us right now, we'd be wasting our time.
We would. We would indeed. So that is Real Talk. A couple of closing words on my end. State of the Game is once again going to be on this Thursday, most likely, I think 99% at 4 p.m. Eastern with myself, Apollo, Wolf, and QXC. I'll have more info via Twitter here probably later tonight, if not tomorrow. Next week's guest for Real Talk is once again up in the air. Joe was kind of a last-minute type ordeal that I set up. Luckily,
I see how it is.
That's not even what it means. Luckily, last week Joe was around and was able to record this episode of Real Talk. So we'll see if I can get lucky again towards the end of the week as I'll try to figure out someone. Next week is MLG week, though, so there will be no shows from Wednesday on till probably the Tuesday afterwards. But regardless, that's it. I got to get out of here. I'll probably be streaming a little bit later tonight. Going to be playing some of the new Forza. I would suspect that'll be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours from now. I'll tweet about it when I'm about to go live, so check me out on Twitter, which you can find here right below. Click follow on the way out. It really helps me out when you follow the stream. But Joe, you got any last words?
Till next time, JP. Don't forget that bottle.
Till next time, I won't forget.
Don't leave it in the sun this time.
Don't leave it in the sun. Vodka in the sun never mixes. All right, guys, we'll see you later. JP McDaniel signing out. It's been Real Talk.